once Texas gets past this pseudo-medical that we've got, it will be a path to adult use, and it will be one of the largest markets in the world. And that is something that the politicians also need to understand is these are huge revenue opportunities for the state. A state with no income tax could see huge amount. And they were working with a surplus last year, so even more, one of the few states that was. I mean, these are even more
Do you
reasons.
know how much they pay a legislature in Texas to do their job?
I don't.
How much?
It's like $7,500.
I can. It's and
Or
it was
12,000 in
12,000?
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary low.
$84,000 in Illinois.
Wow.
Are you serious? Annually? Wow.
For a part-time job.
Back with another episode of Media Unshackled MJ BizCon 2023. I am here with the co-host for the most, the guy who I refer to as straight up AI, Tom.
Hello, human life forms.
I like that. He's playing along now. I refer to him as AI because of his knowledge of the details. It's like I could Google, I could ask ChatGPT, or I could ask Tom.
And then I'll Google it and ask ChatGPT.
Yes, but he's a frighteningly intelligent person, which is why we love him on Media Unshackled, because we like quality individuals, quality content, and he is absolutely one of them. And we here, the two of you, are as well.
There you go.
So tell us a little bit about who you are, and where you're from, and then who you are and where you're from, and we're going to take a dive into Nebraska and Texas.
Great. My name's Chad Cater. I'm a CPA. I'm the president of Seven Leaf CFOs out of just outside of Austin, Texas, Blanco, Texas. Had my firm now for a few years, about 2 years in cannabis, and gosh, I've been a CPA for almost 25 years.
Excellent.
My name is Crista Eggers, and I am running the ballot initiative in Nebraska, a completely non-legal state right now. That's going to change in 24. We're going to get medical on the ballot, and it's going to pass, and we are going to create an industry to help patients and moving and shaking.
This is awesome because we're going to talk about a little bit about that ballot initiative, how it might look like, the different models that are out there through Nebraska. But let's first get an update. Everybody thinks there's not much of a market or anything happening in Texas, but where is Texas now? What's happening there? Medicinal, CBD, and kind of walk us through a preview, an update.
So Texas, 2015, passed legislation for a compassionate use program, which is a very low THC program. Tried to do some modifications to it over the years. This past legislative year, which unfortunately Texas only meets every 2 years, the legislature does, had great success passing some changes through the Republican House, and then got to the Senate and died because basically the politics of the Senate were such that there was no way that it was going to be able to get to committee and get out for a real vote. So those changes fell through last year, but as far as the medical program goes, it's very expensive to get in for dispensaries. It's almost $500,000 for your initial license after an $8,000 application fee, and there are very few dispensaries in the state. Folks may distribute from Austin all the way to El Paso.
Does that $500,000 go to the state or a private sale?
State.
Oh, you got to pay the state.
Pay the state.
Yeah, that's
Vertically integrated
Yes.
and unlimited page count application.
What's
So
that?
these things were phone books. They had an application round that closed last December 28th, something like that?
We just did one in April, just finished up in April.
April 28th.
This,
Yep. And then, do you know how many licenses have come out of that round?
None.
Do you think any will?
I don't think so. There's some pushback from the market itself saying we don't need any more license because we just don't have enough patients yet. And so that's a big issue. It's
Pushback from who?
from people
The license holders,
who
all three of them.
Are, right, exactly. For the license holders who have the space
Right.
there, they're fine with distributing from Austin to El Paso.
Note to self: you got to be careful about listening to the opinions of those people who have control of a supply chain.
Exactly.
In regards to how the supply chain should be developed.
Right.
Right. Tell the policymakers that because
Exactly.
to be fair, we want more opportunity. Some people want more opportunity, more competition. Go on. Tell us what's happening next in Texas.
So the push again is to try to get some more conditions added to medical, and then work towards getting some sort of rec vote up there, some sort of adult use vote that can be logical. There is huge support. I mean, we're talking 70, 80% of the electorate is saying we want it legal.
Okay, now the initiative process, referendum process in Texas does not exist?
No.
Interesting. So you have to go through the legislative
Municipalities can do things, but statewide, no. You have to go through the legislative process.
process. Okay, and well, so that's going to be challenging.
Very. There's a little bit of a change going on, and some of the older, stuffier politicians are leaving, the ones that were part of the war on drugs,
Right.
or were educated by the war on drugs, and they're starting to get some new blood in there that's starting to make some changes. We saw it with how successful these changes were in the House, but we also saw the other side in the Senate.
So how many retailers are there right now open?
There are 3.
There's just 3 retailers open.
Correct. This is on the low-use THC side, the medical side.
And who holds those 3 licenses?
It's
Adam, John, and Larry.
yeah,
Right.
You know,
Mayor's
pretty much.
cousin,
Yeah.
governor's buddy, and then
right.
So
a
The
Bush.
people that helped get the initial legislation in are also the ones that have those licenses.
those 3 licenses. So are you friends with them?
I know of them. I'm not personal friends with
Well,
them.
so the 3 of them should reach out to Tom and I, and they should. I'm not going to do this, but maybe Tom. I don't know. But those
Depends on
3
how much you
guys could fund a change in the legislation through their lobbyists and stuff
Absolutely.
to self-servingly legalize it, to help patients and consumers have access
Sure.
to cannabis and benefit themselves, of course, but that also would advance the cause.
Absolutely. And
Are they doing that?
No.
No.
And when you see interviews with them, that they are clear with, we don't want or need anymore. And it's a very
So they don't want to like change the low THC to high THC. They don't want to add like pain or anything that's a huge catch-all.
Correct.
So there could be like 2 million patients in Texas.
But why
Exactly.
wouldn't they? They're-
Easily 2
and
million
these are
patients.
nuances we're going to go through in Nebraska here in a second as well. But it's these transitions from medical to adult use that
Correct.
things are grandfathered in, and there's this
Mm-hmm.
assumption that because you've been interacting in cannabis before, you should be entitled to the next set and stuff, which
Exactly.
is a dissertation level discussion as to how medicinal could be, has been transitioned to adult use.
Right.
There's no right or wrong. There's just lots of different models. But they can create their own model and say, look, there should be adult use cannabis. We have 3 retail. Each of our retail should be issued an unlimited nice number of retail locations in this piece of legislation.
Sure.
I would fund the hell out of that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you're just not getting the
This
real
is the twisted nuances that
the
happen
real push that you're getting is still coming from normal Texans for the sensible use, and those folks of sorts of people that are just. I mean, they're making some progress, but not a lot. There could be a lot more progress if you could get a lot more support, even out of the people that are already there. And honestly, the hemp market there is very strong. The hemp-based market and so that would hurt them as well if you started crossing over and mixing it around. And so I think there's a little
She
pushback
opened the
there.
door for them.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Even though
absolutely.
I'm aware of all these
Yeah.
manipulations and manifestations and different ways that this can be done, I'm a free market guy.
Sure.
Because all this stuff will be twisted manipulations and
Yeah, we've seen it.
situations.
We've seen it in so many other states. I mean, that's a model that's out there. It'll exist in Texas.
So along those lines, is there anything else you want to tell us about Texas that you see on the horizon?
I do think that as the population there gets younger, and there's been a huge influx of folks coming from other states, California being one of them. That's and New York. New York now legal, its own set of challenges, but I think you're going to see some changes, positive changes, especially in a younger generation who doesn't think that the world will implode when cannabis is medicinal or recreational.
Okay, so reflect on Texas and what else we need to know, and we're going to jump into Nebraska.
Yeah.
What's
So
happening in Nebraska?
quite the shift in Nebraska. We have no medical program. We have no adult use program. The
So
issue
there's no weed in Nebraska.
there is an unregulated Delta 8 market, the hemp market, that is dangerous, unregulated, and patients are getting very, very ill. We have been attempting to get something in the legislature done for 10 plus years, excuse me, and have failed. Compassionate use could not get that done. We have a group of legislatures that just will not, they just don't want their name as a green light on this issue. They
Right.
support it, they know it's coming, and so we have a ballot initiative process in Nebraska. In 2020, we decided to go to the ballot. We took a constitutional medical cannabis law and brought it to voters, did collect the necessary signatures during the midst of the pandemic,
How many signatures were there?
200,000 in
Nice.
a 3-month time. And we were later tossed on a single subject issue saying that the issue of medical cannabis and medical cannabis access are two totally different, unrelated issues.
That is something as a lawyer, and then judges are, they're elected. So
Right.
are judges in Nebraska, do they have to go to law school and typically become lawyers and then
Well,
eventually?
that's what we think. That's what they tell us.
Okay, good. But that's a clear bias, and we've seen
It
that also in
absolutely is.
Florida now,
Yep.
too.
Yeah. There has been a strong opposition in Nebraska over this from just a few state elected officials, and they have absolutely gone against the will of the people. The people definitely wanted this issue to be on the ballot, and when it wasn't, they pushed back. And so we attempted in 2022 to go back, again, went through the legislative body in one last attempt, saying, hey, you guys should do this, because otherwise we're going to go this way, and the people will get this done. We came in 8,000 signatures short in a grassroots effort last year. The reason I'm here is I have a son who is 8, and Colton was diagnosed with a catastrophic form of epilepsy 5 years ago, and his doctors at Mayo at the time said, there is nothing more we can do. You need to take your child home, enjoy him, what time he has left. And you're looking at a mom who said, absolutely not. There has got to be something else. And they said, there is medical cannabis, but we can't talk to you about it. You don't live in a legal state. And so I said, what do I do? And they said, well, you should go home and move, which no one should have to do, or get it legalized. And I thought getting it legalized, I thought that was going to be the easier path. And that was 5 years ago. My son is older and sicker, but there are so many individuals like him that I, on a daily basis, leading this campaign, get the ability to talk to, who say, thank you for what you all are doing, because we need this and the people support it. So we are in the midst of gathering signatures for 2024.
What's the 3-month window for that?
Well, we submit signatures July 3rd of next year, and then they certify you for the ballot. We need 87,000 valid signatures on 2 statutory initiatives. We decided not to go constitutional after the 2020 decision. I feel very strong about our language. It does toss it to the legislature once it passes, and so there will be a great deal of lobbying efforts and money that is needed to make sure that when we do pass something, that it's something that actually helps people, and that individuals who come into the space, that they can actually have businesses that function and are profitable.
Who wrote the language?
We used many different attorneys across the nation who specialize in cannabis law, and then we used a lot of ballot attorneys. I don't think Tom was a part of that, but Tom and I are going to talk after.
Talk.
Yeah.
But then, do you have any shape of what the statute's going to look like? You mentioned profitability, and then it's Nebraska, so they think it's uranium or something for some reason. I'm assuming your security compliance costs are going to be astronomical, and it probably will cost like upwards of $2 million to getting a dispensary open. If you try to do that with like an open market style that you see in like an Oklahoma or a New Mexico, they'll all be broke.
Yep.
So how many licenses are we talking?
With our single subject issue in Nebraska, none of that can be written into a ballot initiative. None of that
goodness.
language.
Thank
and
God.
so it will be up to the legislative body. It will be up to individuals who have come in and come to the table to help get this done, to hopefully lend experience and knowledge of. I've always said one of the only good things about one of this being the last states to do anything on this is we can learn from what other states have not done great, and we can learn what states have done well, and we can take that and hopefully curate a program, hand this to the legislature, and say this is what we need to do.
It's sorry, you want to go ahead?
It's a very difficult thing that she's trying to accomplish.
Well, and also as more and more systems, more and more structures come into play, and looking at those different states, people come up with more and more clever ideas as to how these markets, these supply chains should be structured. And, I have come to the conclusion after being involved with 10 years in many, many states and many countries that the only right path for cannabis is the free market.
Yes.
And everything else is some manipulation or some agenda or some nuance. And that's a dream. It's an ideal to me. And, we have...
I disagree, because when you have the political realities that they face in Texas and in Nebraska, and this
Right, but those political
false
and
political opinion, but then
Right.
it's going to push your compliance costs up because they're going to require, the security system in Illinois for our cameras will be $250,000. The vault will be $250,000. The whole build out, we have to rebuild the whole thing, and then they're going to ask you to do the parking lot, make sure you have camera access everywhere. You have to bring in lighting then, so there's no dark spots anywhere because somebody can be lurking, And that aspect of it, you're asking for a free market, but it's not free because you're requiring a $2 million investment to get operational. So then if you also so there's enough people that have that $2 million, so they'll keep coming in and keep opening stores, and then you're going to see people going broke because you required compliance costs to be so high, and then you get consolidation. And so then you just still end up with 3 companies.
Right, but we need to educate the policymakers why those things like thousands of cameras aren't necessary,
Right.
8-foot walls aren't necessary. We need to, and yes, the fuddy-duddies do come back and say, yes, you need walls, yes, you need cameras. But from an industry perspective, I always want to make sure that we're advocating for the spirit of freedom, the spirit of opportunity, which to me is so frustrating because I'm a big UFCW Teamsters guy, and I met the national leaders of the UFCW and Teamsters, and I like labor. And I realized sometime during this whole process, interacting with thousands of employees, entrepreneurs, investors, all kinds of stuff, that if you create licensing cap jurisdictions, you're dooming your labor and your employees to never be able to utilize the knowledge that they acquire from that enterprise that they're involved in to go off and be their own boss. And while, yes, you're protecting their payroll, yes, you're protecting their workman's comp, all the other things that labor peace agreements do, if you support licensing caps, you support crushing the dreams and hopes and opportunities of labor, of employees. I'm actually not a UFCW, I'm not a Teamsters guy, and I'm not a liberal. I'm actually very much a libertarian. But you believe me because it's also true. Right? So I was trying to make their argument for them. I was trying to argue. And they actually, the head of the UFCW national campaign person actually looked at me and said, we never thought about that. And I said, you know what? A lot of people don't think about that in life in general. But I have met so many individuals who are like, I want to be in the cannabis industry. And they can't because there's this barrier to entry created by the fuddy-duddies, created by pragmatic realities, created by the real world, which he knows much better than me. I'm just making sure that our cannabis industry isn't the one that creates this nonsense.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily Texas doing it. Texas did, but other states that I've worked in and around, it's that exact problem. Is you consult with somebody on opening a cannabis business, and do you have $10 million?
Right.
Because
No, they do not.
exactly. And
Are
where do
you
you get
also
it?
social equity?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more. What did we miss about Texas? Can people reach out to you, talk about Texas?
Sure, absolutely. I'm available. My website, 7 Leaf CFOs, the number 7 Leaf CFOs. I can be reached there, and I'll be glad to talk to anybody about Texas. I got very involved in lobbying there this last year, and it's grassroots, just like you're talking about in Nebraska. The more we can get in front of people and educate people like you were talking about, it's that education that it's going to take to be able to push these things over the line. Once Texas gets past this pseudo-medical that we've got, it will be a path to adult use, and it will be one of the largest markets in the world. And that is something that the politicians also need to understand is these are huge revenue opportunities for the state. A state with no income tax could see huge
Billions.
amount. And they were working with a surplus last year, so even more, one of the few states that was. I mean, these are even more
Do you
reasons.
know how much they pay a legislature in Texas to do their job?
I don't.
How much
It's
is
like
it?
$7,500.
I can. It's. I
We're
knew it was
12,000 in
12,000?
Nebraska. Yeah.
It's extraordinary low.
$84,000 in Illinois.
Are you serious? Annually? Wow.
for a part-time job.
They don't reconvene until January.
Blue states, red states, cannabis is all about politics.
It is.
This has been the most fascinating 10 years of any lifetime that I've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
So, how do they reach out to you?
Look up Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana. You will find the effort that we have going on. We are looking for individuals who can help us create make sure this does happen. And obviously all these things you guys have been talking about, I don't have a lot of experience in. I really am a mom who is determined and going to get this done. And that's my focus, is getting the signatures to make sure that we get on the ballot. And when we get on the ballot, we will pass. The approval rating, the support for this is polls. Take from polls what you want, right? But any way that you put it, 85% support this. And the other group, they support it. They just don't know it yet. They need to be educated, right? And so reach out. NebraskaMarijuana.org is our website. But I would love for individuals who have any insight, any help. This is a learning process for me. And I know we're going to make mistakes. But I want to make sure that we are doing everything we can now until signature turn-in, and then to the ballot, to make sure that then what happens after, that we're as prepared as we can be.
Is there, is that, you said a 3-month window to get signatures. You're collecting
Well,
signatures
so
now?
you can get signatures starting one day after the previous ballot cycle. We're a every 2 years. So,
Right. So when's that day start?
so we have started collecting signatures because what we have found in the past is funding has been an issue. Being a red state that is one of the last to do anything with medical has been a fundraising hurdle. But I decided that we're not going to wait for money. We ran this grassroots 2 years ago, collected 200,000 signatures. And so we need to make sure that we do start it early. And so we've started and we're going till July.
And so how many signatures do you have? And the reason I asked that is because I want to read your language.
Yeah.
And I want to see if it needs to be rewritten.
Okay.
Because there are other paths that you guys could do. There's lots of things. The imagination can take you anywhere. I mean, the possibility, like what are the neighboring states?
Possibilities aren't endless. You're in Nebraska.
Yeah, what are the states, neighboring states in Nebraska?
South Dakota, Colorado, Iowa, and Kansas is below us.
Okay, so you could write something in there just to have access to all the medical products that are produced in Colorado without creating a commercial market structure, which might actually be easier to, more palatable. And then we go to the Colorado people and we ask for money because they're creating a new market over there. As a matter of fact, why don't we just do Arizona, and we'll get my cultivators and my manufacturing
Let's
friends.
talk. Let's talk. That's why I'm here.
Export over there. So we're gonna have to.
the beauty
redo
of the
your
industry.
initiative. Yeah, my imagination does not stop. But anyways, but that's why we get along so well, because his feet are firmly grounded on the ground and my head is in the air. Make a good combination.
It's a good thing you're
yes.
you're mic'd, otherwise you'd float away.
Yes, I have finally taken flight, but he holds me to the world. Anyways, this has been another episode of Meat Unshackled. We now have 2 more contacts for you, Nebraska and Texas. Very interesting markets to get involved in. I urge you to reach out for them because I've been involved in Arizona since the beginning, and you learn so much about so many things along the way, and it's not just about cannabis.
Right.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.